YouTube Oziko in the Goat House is back, previewing Super Bowl 54 between the Kansas City Chiefs and the San Francisco 49ers at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami. Going to break down the main keys to victory, to winning the Super Bowl for both of these teams here in this video. Kind of going to talk about what to expect from both teams as well. Before we get started, 40K, that's our subscriber goal. On both of our channels, we actually have a newer channel, the Goat House Plus. Link in the description and comments for that. Please subscribe to both. Full NFL content, not just in the season with these predictions for every single game, but even in the offseason, free agency, coverage, predictions, and same goes for the NFL draft, where this channel started. So we're always really excited for the offseason. Our Twitter, at GoatHouseNFL, there's a link in the description and the comments for that as well. Please follow it every single day, talking football constantly. It's a must follow. And then in the description, you will also find a link to our Patreon page, so check that out. Before we get into the keys, something very interesting, for these offenses. What works best for the Chiefs, may not be the weakness of the Niners defense, and the same goes the opposite. What works best offensively for the Niners offense may not be the biggest weakness for the Chiefs defense. So I found that interesting because both these offenses could pretty much do it all. They're very good at giving disguises, and so what will they go for? Will they kind of do what works best for their offense, what kind of their identity was that got them here all year, or will they go for throwing the other team off, keeping them on their toes, staying unpredictable and maybe going at their weaknesses? It's a tough decision, what to do. I think a mixture of both. I think both teams, the obvious keys will be to, and what they will try to do is to manage that clock. They really want to run the clock while putting points up on the board. That kind of goes for any game. I'm kind of just a fan. I'm not worrying about the clock all that much. If you can score, go score, because points win football games. But most people want to manage the clock. It's done very well for both these teams. I think the Niners are kind of more focused on that. They want to run the ball, drain the clock, and then, so they're up. They got to start off up, and then so you can drain the clock, and then the Chiefs kind of want to do some similar things. Just hang on to the ball. You got to get in your groove, and that's kind of the main thing for the Niners. That can't let the Chiefs get in their groove because we've seen them start slow a little bit early. So if the Niners could, run the clock while, the Chiefs are starting slow. If that's the case, that could be the difference. We'll look at the keys here that I came up with, specific keys. The Chiefs, obviously, I would like for both teams to start with the ball. The chance to score first and then manage the clock is pretty key, but mainly to get points up on the board right away here. Start with quick passes, quick plays for the Chiefs. And that kind of goes into that second point there. Keep Mahomes clean early, which you want to keep him clean the whole game. But I think it's extra important to, kind of keep him safe early. And that it kind of goes in with each other because that's why I want them to come out high tempo, go quick, quick slants in the passing game. They like to do a lot of that, back shoulder on the sideline, maybe like a little RPO look. And that's what I want them to do early because the quicker the ball comes out, the safer Mahomes will be. No standing in the pocket for a long time against that good pass rush. We've seen the Niners pretty much win games right off the bat. Kind of looking back at games, especially the Packers game, really both Packers games. The dagger almost felt like early when they're getting these big-time sacks, a strip sack, a big play or pressure that forces an interception maybe. Those are the plays that feel like when you look back at it, it's like the early dagger. So we don't want to cause that here. The Chiefs do not want that to happen. So you have to go quick. I think they have the quickness and the speed to be able to do that early. Just come out firing. It's really hard to play defense. It's really hard to play defense against these offenses in general. It's really hard just, second the game starts, go out there and you really have no idea what to expect. That's when it's the hardest. So high tempo, very quick offense. Nothing that's, really nothing. I'm okay with taking shots, but no long developing plays. So that the top two kind of go with each other there. It's mainly, to start tiring out the defense early and keep them on their toes and just keeping Mahomes protected. Nothing sloppy early. RPO to me will be key. That will get them yards against this Niners defense. It will drain the clock against this defense, and it will wear them down. RPO, RPO is great because it's unpredictable and it's really hard to game plan for. And we actually saw the Chiefs do it very early against the Titans. So I think that was kind of their plan against the Titans. Titans are pretty good at covering it though. They're the one of the better teams. I think it can work on the Niners. They've had the best defense all year. But if I had to find weaknesses, anything that's kind of, where they have to read the quarterback, who has the ball, anything misdirection, anything along those lines. That's what would be, the Niners really don't have any big weaknesses, but that would be, kind of the weakness. So I think that'll be key. It could be part of the start of the game, but you mix that in there mainly to wear them down. But also at the same time, I think it'll work. If it's going to wear them down, but it's not going to work, then that's one thing. But I think it's something that will work against the Niners, and you kind of can wear that defense down, which not too many teams have been able to do it really at all. I would like more slip screens to Damien Williams. It works. They are so good at blocking those slip screens that those work, and I think that's the Niners are really good at reading those, and high motor linebackers coming up and making that play, but they have not seen the Chiefs on that. Williams has the speed. They have the blocking scheme to do that. I would like more counters too. Talked about anything that's misdirection there in the backfield. I think you can beat the Niners with. They haven't really seen. They played two NFC North teams. Kind of going back to the RPO talk, they played the Vikings, with Kirk Cousins, and the Packers with Aaron Rodgers. Two quarterbacks that are capable of throwing pretty well, I guess, and the Niners did a great job of shutting them down. But there's nothing fancy when it comes to them. There's nothing fancy at all. It's pretty much just pro-style offenses, no RPO. I want to say Kirk Cousins maybe ran one all year, and Rodgers was very limited in the category as well. So I think it'll work for the Chiefs. At the same time, it could be the mismatch for them too. So, and things like counters too. Like I said, anything that could keep the defense guessing, I guess. Especially the run defense. To me, the sideline's your friend on the deep shots. I don't think it's necessary to take the deep shots early. I mean, you can, but it's not really necessary to me. But the Chiefs, they're gonna take their deep shots. I like the sideline for them. I like one-on-one with the corners. Richard Sherman's had an all-pro type year, but he has not seen the speed. If there's a weakness for Sherman, it is speed. Top-tier speed, and the Chiefs have that. So I think down the sideline, where will the corners have the least amount of help? It's down the sideline. That's kind of my point there. The safeties are very capable of helping on the sideline, but that's where I think they have their best opportunities deep, which it's the Chiefs. They're going to have good opportunities pretty much anywhere deep. The two fastest teams in football here, and I think you beat speed with even more speed. And the Chiefs, to me, I think these are definitely the two fastest teams in football. But to me, the Chiefs are the fastest team in football, and you have to use, by that I mean you have to use your speed. You have to Tyreek Hill. You take away the quarterback. You take away Patrick Mahomes. Tyreek Hill might be the most dangerous and the best player, all-around player on the field, the most dangerous weapon. You have to use one more game. You have to use the speed as much as possible. It's kind of funny, though, because even if you don't use Tyreek Hill, you're still using speed, whether it's Mecole Hardman or Sammy Watkins. But, I mean, it's the last game of the year. You have to go all out. The Niners have not seen this speed yet. You can't just be throwing routes where you really just limiting your guys to, you want to use them to the best of their abilities. I would like for them to roll away from Bosa, the side that he's on, from the offense side, you mainly see him on the left side there. But Dee Ford, a lot of dropping back in coverage, and he did very well on it, last week, against the Packers, did very well. So he can drop back, which will lead to possibly them rushing three. There always could be a blitz involved there, but if you roll away from Bosa, I think you'll have more time, to throw. And Ford will be dry. He shouldn't really be a factor that much against the Chiefs in coverage. It definitely helps. I think for the most part, the Niners will, be rushing Dee Ford and Bosa, because that could be the key to them. If you get pressure on Mahomes, it really changes a lot of things there. But keep away from Bosa there, because there's a chance Ford could be dropping back in coverage. Obviously, on defense, you got to stop the run first and expect it early. The Niners are going to come out running. That's what they like to do. Mostert's off a big game. Garoppolo threw the ball only 8 times last week. Didn't throw it a whole bunch against the Vikings either. Maybe a bit in the first half, not much at all in the second half. So they're going to come out running. That's kind of their game plan. They're going to run some play action here and there, a lot of motions. But you have to stop the run first, kind of like you did against the Titans. It's a totally different, Derrick Henry is going to be better, is a better overall back than anybody on the Niners, but it's a totally different type of running style. So it's going to be similar. You stop the run, and that kind of, helps a lot, obviously, because then you can expect pass, but it's easier said than done. It's not really the same type of running style that the Titans have, but similar style game plan there, and I do expect it early from the Niners. force the obvious passing situations, and then you have to blitz Garoppolo. When Garoppolo's under pressure, it's a lot different. He's been solid. Under pressure, under heavy pressure, he really hasn't been that solid this year. But the key is you have to know when they're passing. I mean, they have a good enough pass rush to get after Garoppolo, but really that extra pressure, on those 3rd and 5, 6, or more. That extra pressure with the blitz could be the difference maker, could force Garoppolo to throw a little earlier. He's been off target at times this year, which led to maybe a little more interceptions than you would like, and that's kind of the key. I think a key turnover in this game will go unnoticed and could be kind of the dagger, kind of that key to the game. It'll be mainly an offensive game, and everyone, the MVP is going to go to a quarterback or a big-time playmaker on offense. But I think, a big play on defense, a big turnover really could be the key, the dagger, the turning point in the game. And for the Chiefs' sake, I think it can come on one of these plays. The Niners are very, very good they're probably the best team offensively in the NFL that, in terms of not having those obvious passing situations. Defense is a guessing game. When a team's passing for sure, it's a little easier to play defense, and the Niners have been limited on those amount of plays, which is obviously a positive thing. So it's, easier said than done. But if you force those situations, you have to take advantage of them. That's why I say you kind of blitz. I don't mind Tyrann Mathieu in the blitz. As well as, obviously the pass rushers going to be coming in. And they have Chris Jones in the interior. So I think really all it takes is one good blitz, in an obvious pass situation that could cause that turnover. But on to the Niners' keys, in my opinion here. I think even though it's kind of obvious, I still think you have to come out feeding Mostert. That's their game. Really any running back is their game, but I really like Mostert against this Chiefs offense. It's a different style. It's a style that has had success against the Chiefs there. So I think you come out doing that. You try to get on the board, even if you're down, or whether it's 3-0, 7-0. Say the Chiefs start with the ball and they happen to score. I still think you do it. That's your game. It'll open up the pass. They're not a team that passes to open up the run. They're more of a run to open up the pass. They could do either. So I think you got to kind of stick to your game there, and it should work. It's not like it's a thing that's not going to work against the Chiefs. Run the clock. That's them kind of going into it. You got to run the clock. We've seen the Chiefs start off pretty terrible against the Texans. They're able to come back on the Texans. Why? Because the Chiefs, plain and simple, the Chiefs are a much better team than the Texans. And they started off a little slow against the Titans. They were able to come back because they still had their game plan was still in place. They're a better team than the Titans, so a mixture of those things. But now, the Niners are a lot better than a team like the Texans, and a decent amount better than a team like the Titans. So you have to run the clock, and running the clock will limit the Chiefs' chances to getting in their groove. We see like the Texans didn't run enough clock when they were up 24 points. They just didn't. There was so much time still for the Chiefs. And they don't need a whole bunch of time. So, running that clock is pretty key, more for the Niners and the Chiefs. Get Kittle some action downfield. I would like, 50-50 balls are risky, but kind of those, if he's one-on-one, he's downfield, I'm kind of giving him a shot. I think that could be a weakness for the DBs on the Chiefs. I think Kittle can kind of outbody them. He can out physical them there and high point the ball, or just he doesn't really need to high point it. I think that's where their weakness is. Tyrann Mathieu's a heck of a DB. He's going to have a lot of responsibility. He may not be in the action, but I think he is. If he is, if it's one-on-one, I still trust Kittle on those types of plays just because how physical he is. So I would, we've seen it here and there on some big plays, but I think for the most part this year, it's kind of like those, quick outs or, a comeback in the middle. I would like for them to go downfield a little more to Kittle. I think that could work against the secondary. Tyrann Mathieu will control the middle of the field. He will control it. He has a big responsibility in this game. I would like deep shots down the sideline. Talking about Kittle or talking about, any of their speed. That's kind of the thing, though. Going back to what I said in the beginning of the video, the Niners' main game in the passing is over the middle. Garoppolo's thrown in traffic pretty well this year. That's kind of what they want. They want a lot of crosses. We've seen a lot of that in their passing games in crucial situations, even Kittle down the middle. But Tyrann Mathieu will control the middle, and then that kind of leaves their corners. That's their weak point of their defense. So really, I think shots down the sideline will work. We don't see a whole bunch of that from the Niners this year, so that would kind of have to go against what was working for them this year just because it's a weakness of the Chiefs. That's where it's kind of a tough call there because they do like the middle on crosses. I would almost, it's kind of going into what we're going here in a second. I'll come back to that. Avoid throwing in traffic down. Yeah, it's the same thing. You know, I think it's worked for them this year. Sometimes Garoppolo's been fortunate, you know, but, you know, a lot of times he's hit those throws, you know, crazy gaps he's hit it through. That's kind of what he's done this year. But I think Matthew will be all over that. I think this is kind of his moment. If that ball's there, you know, there's been plenty of times this year where like, okay, yeah, even on completions, yeah, like somebody could have picked that ball. I think I found myself at least saying for Garoppolo, even though he's had a great year, Matthew will get those balls. He will get those balls. But then that kind of goes into here. This is what I wanted to come back to. I would like to roll out Jimmy as much as possible here. You know, they've run a lot of crossing, you know, drags through the middle, and he's thrown them pretty early. You know, he's thrown them pretty early, which results in the middle of the field. I think the rollouts could work. You got Chris Jones in the middle for the interior pressure. You have Tyrann Mathieu in the middle in coverage, and he can blitz in the middle or anywhere at any time. You roll out, you keep away from those studs in the middle, probably their two best players on defense. You know, right there in the middle, you roll out, and those crossing route, you know, those same play designs could still work. You can just extend them a little bit on the rollout, so that way you're kind of throwing at the corners coming across the field. Pretty simple. They're very capable of doing that, so I think that's what we'll see a little more of. And like I said, the Niners run a lot of motion, a ridiculous amount, and they do it because it kind of throws off the defense. You don't really know, you know, if the end around's going to get it, whether it's Deebo Samuel, whoever it is, because he can take it. You know, we've seen that, you know, last week. We've seen him take it the distance. You don't know if they're running it to whoever their back is in the backfield, or you don't know if it's going to be a pass. You know, for the most part this year, it's been a run to their back, which I think majority would go to Mostert. It's been a motion, it's been a run. Pretty much they're stacking that receiver on the side with Kittle, and then they're running to that side, and then they have an insane amount of blockers over there. They're already very good. The offensive line themselves already very good at run blocking, and that will work. But I think coming out of the game running and then kind of going to that same concept, but going play action, and that kind of can feed into the rollout and hit those crossing routes. I think that's unpredictable. You know, if the Chiefs are watching, you know, even in this game, you know, if you start off coming out running the Mostert, and it's unpredictable in a way because the Chiefs watching film, I think most of the time they run that motion. It's a run, and they run to the stack side, you know, the motion side. So I think it's unpredictable, and at the same time, I think it's going to be a weakness for the Chiefs, actually. So I would like to see that. For defense, you know, expect RPO and counters early. I think that's what they'll do. I would like for them a lot of quick passes early, but I think they're going to go the RPO counter route because I think they're going to see that they like to do it, and it works for them, and it can open up that big play because all of a sudden you have an RPO, and then Mahomes launches it, and the only reason why that works is because, I mean, he's a very good quarterback because the speed of the receivers. Usually the most RPO concepts are pretty much slants for the most part, but we've seen the Chiefs kind of go RPO. You get the slant, you get the back shoulder very quickly, you get the deep shots. It's because of the speed of their offense and the talent of Patrick Mahomes. So that kind of sets it up. I think they'll do it early is because, you know, if there was a weakness for the Niners, you know, I think it's anything that's where you have to read the quarterback or, you know, misdirection, any of that. I think that's kind of they haven't had weaknesses. But you look at the Ravens game, there wasn't a whole bunch of points in that game if you just look at the box score. But there was a lot of yards and a lot of clock running, and I thought even though the Ravens barely squeaked by that game, I really thought they dominated that game in that way. The Niners were honestly very poor at reading where the ball was, specifically their defensive ends. And, you know, people will say, well, look at the score. It was a 3-point. What was it? I can't remember exactly. 17-14, I want to say. You know, but that's really not the point. You know, they ran the clock. They got a lot of yards. It was also a slot fest game. Lamar ended up fumbling probably because it was raining, you know, because I think the Chiefs will see that. The Chiefs are not the Ravens. You know, Mahomes can take off. He's not going to be running all over the place, but they're going to try to, you know, hide where the ball's at is really what they're going to do. And that kind of goes into the next thing, that the defensive ends, you know, guys like Bosa, D Ford, you know, the guys on the ends, they need to contain. You know, they need to make the quarterback the priority, in my opinion, because a lot of the times, you know, if great seasons for the whole defense for those guys. Nick Bosa, insane rookie season, but where I have seen mistakes is you can fool them. It's not that hard to fool them, and I actually saw that on tape at Ohio State too. I remember that was really my only weakness besides that he was hurt. That sometimes he kind of loses where the ball's at. You know, he's a little easy to go for the running back sometimes, and you're the pass rusher mainly. Yeah, and Nick Bosa is very crucial in stopping the run. He's made a lot of great plays in those moments too, even, and he hasn't fell for the fake most of the time, but sometimes he can. But it also takes is like really one time where he falls forward, he goes and chases down Damien Williams. Mahomes still has the ball, rolls out to his side. There's no edge rusher over there. And I'm just using Bosa as an example. It could be either end, and that could be a huge play, absolutely huge. So, I know the defensive ends. It's crucial for them to be involved in the run game in this defense. But at the same time, you have the interior guys, you have the speed, high motor linebackers. The safeties even, those guys can come up. So I think these ends, as they should, I think need to make the quarterback the priority. You should be hitting them on those plays. Almost sometimes you'll even if you're very confident the running back has the ball, you really got to be 100% certain. For me, I'm hitting the quarterback. I'm hitting the quarterback if you're the defensive end. I think that's key for them because I think the Chiefs will find that that's a weakness, somewhat of a weakness. It's hard to say Niners and weakness because they've had easily the best defense all year. And they like to do it at the same time, the Chiefs. So I think that's what they'll go for. So pretty interesting. This is a very interesting game. I can't wait for this game, just mainly because the matchup. We see best offense versus best defense, but in a very much improved offense this year and a very much improved defense this year for the opposite sides. So it's a great matchup. I'm really looking forward to this game here. And then we have our straight up picks up already on the channel with the other members of the GOAT House, and I'll do my score predictions in the very, very near future. Plenty of content. We're already starting to cover the offseason, of course, so please subscribe to both of our channels. Link in the description in the comments for all that. Would really appreciate it. And then follow our Twitter. You'll see that link down there as well. That's going to do it for this one, though. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.